Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody around the globe listening in, tuning in, chiming in. So my name is Keith, and it is an honor to be back once again. Sean is still out, so I am still in the captain's chair. Unfortunately, I don't know what Sean's deal is. I'm starting to really think we're going to charge him with malingering at this point. It's kind of getting a little out of hand, but welcome back, everybody, to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and is a proud member of the Parade Deck community. VET S.O.S can now be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, and you can find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and the TuneIn app. We're excited to have a fellow podcaster on the show today. Deny Caballero from the Security Halt podcast is joining us. Looking forward to learning about his journey and his podcast. But first, Eric, it is great to have you back again this week, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm still here, dude.
I know.
Sean needs to stop this whole take a knee, face out, and pull security, drink water thing. Like it's time to come back, Sean. If you're listening, right, you better be listening. It is time to come back. I had my run. This is supposed to be a guest appearance, and now I'm like 3-4 weeks in. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. What up, dude? I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to see what Denny's got. But hey, man, pitter patter, let's get at her.
Yeah, absolutely. So Deny Caballero is a retired Chief Warrant Officer too, mental health advocate, blogger, podcaster, and mentor. Dedicated servant leader that served our nation honorably for 18 years. He proudly served the entirety of his Special Operations Force career at the tactical level. However, this came at a significant cost to his mental and physical health. The damage that his mind, body, and spirit were forced to take on eventually became too much, and Deny found himself with no choice but to end his career and prioritize his wife and his life. And I love that sentence. That's awesome. So, Deny, great to have you on with us tonight. How you doing?
Dude, doing good, man. Busy as ever, but that's a good thing, as you know. We start this podcasting route. I think everybody starts as a hobby, and then when you get momentum and you start creating and you start helping, then it becomes like your mission. And I've always been an advocate for find your purpose, passion, and your mission in life. Service members, we're goal-oriented. At least a lot of us are. And as Green Berets, like, we love tackling a mission. I realized early on in this whole endeavor that all gas, no brakes, man. When you start doing something that is helping people, you got to be able to cut all ties, push off from the harbor and go into the deep water and sail your ship, man. So that's what I do. It's turned out that I really enjoyed the whole production side of the house. So it's not just one show now. Now I'm producing a whole list of shows. So it's, very grateful and very rewarding endeavor. But, man, it's a taxing.
Yeah, you definitely relate to that. So, before we kind of get into the awesome things you're currently doing, tell us, what was it like, the transition? Yeah, I mean, I read off the decision that kind of let it all off, but what was that journey like?
Man, I'll tell you right off the bat, any Green Beret will tell you that the greatest thing that they ever accomplish or ever get a chance to do is being on a team. Nobody wants to come off a team. And I was no different. Being a warrant officer on a team is still the greatest achievement I have ever been able to acquire in the military. And while I was still going through the worst of it, I thought that was the only thing I could ever do or should do. And when I was falling deep into my spiral, I had no pillar to stand on. We always talk about mind, body, and spirit, and all were taken from me. You can't do this life forever. You can't continue doing this, injury after injury, issue after issue. And at the time, I think I was 37, 38, when everything started falling apart for me. And I did not know how to take that. There was no safety net. There was no shore that I could go to. I was sinking and drowning slowly. And one diagnosis led to another diagnosis, then, physical health deteriorating, surgery after surgery. And I didn't want to let go of that beret. I didn't want to let go of that long tap. I didn't want to let go of that team room. It's I'm telling you, it's a powerful fucking drug. It is the greatest thing you'll ever achieve. And not to knock any, look, trauma is trauma, service is service. But when you earn that beret, you earn it every single day. When you earn that long tab and you walk across that ceremony stage, that's just one moment. Like, you're still earning it every single fucking day. And you're surrounded by the best of the best. And when you slowly start to fall back and you're not able to keep up with everybody, it is a fucking nightmare. And that's what I was struggling with. And my life, could have been drastically different if I didn't find vulnerability. I was going through the motions of getting help, like a lot of us do. I'll go to P3, which is our mental health providers at within soft units. And I'll give them just enough to maybe they can offer me some care. And that only works for a little bit. That only works to keep the demons at bay for a little bit. And what was really happening behind the scenes is I was coping with everything else that I could that traditionally worked, which is drinking and avoidance and insomnia. But everything got to the point where it wasn't helping. Nothing was really turning back that pain, that shame, that remorse, that guilt, and all the mental health issues were really piling on. And before I did something really stupid, I found one moment of vulnerability that led me to actually getting help. And I always talk about this organization, and I will shout it from the rooftop forever. Laurel Ridge Treatment Center absolutely saved my life. Going there, finally raising my hand, being vulnerable enough to say, I need fucking help. I need help. I can't do this anymore. I'm cognitively sliding backwards. I don't know what's going on. And that was the first place to really put everything in perspective. And I want to pause and highlight that right now. If you're an active duty service member and you're identifying that you need help, maybe you're just thinking that you're struggling and you don't know how to get answers and you've tried everything else, be brave, be courageous enough to raise your hand and look towards going inpatient. It absolutely saved my life, and it saved so many of my friends. And I just can't say enough about the importance of being vulnerable. It's not something that we should be ashamed of. It's something we should be proud of, being able to say, hey, I got to take a knee. You wouldn't do it anywhere. If you were in combat, if you needed assistance, you'd say, hey, yo, bro, help me out. Take my sector. I got to pull back. You can do it for mental health too, and you should. Once I got out of that treatment center, that's when I was finally able to realize that I was fighting something that was way more complicated than just depression, anxiety, and PTSD. I was dealing with a career-wide, a lifelong, endeavor of dealing and combating trauma. That's something that a lot of us don't talk about. We tend to think that going to war is fine. I was abused as a kid. That's fine. I grew up in poverty. That's fine. I dealt with all this adversity. I'm fine. No, you're not. The human being, the human mind can only take so much. And when you finally realize the impact that it has on your mental health and your physical health, you got to start digging for answers. And what I found was a white paper study by Dr. Chris Free that was entitled Operator Syndrome. And I went through the list of everything. And I realized that, wow, if a human being goes through this and they do it for over a decade, they're going to be fucked. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here.
I've heard the word before. I'm familiar.
Yeah.
But I realized that our soft community, our wider military was doing us a great disservice. We knew that they had data on concussive trauma. We knew they had data on impact injuries, but they never briefed it. Never talked about the impact that it has on you, the actual soldier on the ground. And that's what I realized. The reason why my left eye isn't focusing. The reason why I can't speak at the speed at which I was accustomed to. The reason when I got hyper, emotionally elevated and I just lost all reasoning and was wanting to just bash everything, there was a reason behind it. Yes, of course, I lacked emotional intelligence. Many of us do.
Yep.
But there was a reason why I was constantly up elevated, and I didn't understand it until I was brave enough, again, and vulnerable enough to say, hey, doc, here's this white paper study. I think there's something going on with me. And that led me to actually getting more help and realize that I needed to go to a polytrauma treatment center. I needed to sit down with a multitude of doctors in a care team that saw me as the number one priority. And that's something none of us get unless we advocate for ourselves. So all that to say that I did not take my life. I did not back down. I did not sit quiet. And I did not stay in the one place of comfort, which was the team room, which I didn't want to leave. I decided to say, you know what? I have a wife at home that loves me. I have friends that care about me. But more importantly, I actually need to start learning about compassion and the love that I have for myself. This career is going to end. At some point, the career ends for everybody. Whether it's at 10, 5, 6, 20, 40 years, it will fucking end. Prioritize yourself. You have to. You absolutely have to. The world needs us. Your community needs you. Our nation right now needs more veterans now more than ever. But we won't save each other. We won't be able to break apart this 22 a day or 30 a day or 40 a day unless we look at each other and say, you're worth it. You're absolutely fucking worth it. And I need you to get help. And that's what we have to do for ourselves. That's the only way that I got better was I was actually able to sit down after a lot of help with therapists and a lot of help with doctors and say, I am worth it. I love you. You deserve to be here. You're more than that beret. And that's what I need to hear, but not from somebody else. I need to hear it from myself. And that's what led me to create this whole Security Halt movement. Now, when we first created the inception of Security Halt, it was me and a bunch of other dudes that were also dealing with this. Two of my best friends in the world that I met as paratroopers were dealing with the same issues, but they were on the outside. Well, I continued my career, continued to push forward and putting all my trauma away and pushing it back. They got out and they started having to deal with the same things. They didn't have the courtesy. They didn't have the wonderful mask that I had, which was the mission. It's easy to put the mission in front of you and say, I don't worry about this shit. I got to worry about the mission. But what happens when you get on the outside? You don't have the mission anymore. You don't have the brotherhood anymore. And you're raw dogging mental health by yourself, working in a civilian job. And what Greg, Paul, and I created was Security Halt. It was the ability for us to go back to the LGOP. But it wasn't refined. It wasn't something that was truly purpose-driven because, man, we weren't getting help. It was us leaning on each other. And that's when I realized we needed to be the connective tissue. Bring others into the peer-to-peer support or bring others into an episode of a podcast and be the connective tissue between the poop and cum jokes, the fun humor, and actually getting help. Because that's what I realized. Team Room Talk, it's saved more lives than we can ever imagine. Because in that dark humor, there's a moment of vulnerability where a guy looks at each other and say, hey, man, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Even though he's not ready to talk to a therapist, even though he's not ready to get real help, that little bit of brotherhood, bonding, and laughter will keep you going. Now we just have to talk about peer-to-peer support, how to be that real connective tissue to identify the real issues and say, hey, I love you. You matter to me. You're the best fucking teammate I have. Let's go to P3. And that's what we do with the show. That's what we've been able to create. And the response has been awesome. Being able to put yourself out there and be vulnerable enough to say, hey, transition is important. But before we talk about the job placement, let's talk about getting you the help that you need first. Because I can't save you. Only you can. It's the most important recovery mission you'll ever do. And that's why our shows are constantly a mix of mental health advocacy, resource awareness. And we talk about taking that next chapter too and being proud of what you do. Nobody wants to get out of the military and go into making cheesecakes and working at a fucking cheese stick factory. Sorry, F-bomb again. I apologize. Nobody wants to do that. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to be prepared to find your purpose, your passion, and your mission because you're empowered. And there's some great organizations that will help you transition. There's some amazing groups out there, nonprofits are doing great work. But more often than not, they have their own agenda. So if you don't come up to the bat knowing what you're passionate about, they will sell you on something. They will give you this idea. They'll give you this package. Say, hey, go into sales. Go into cybersecurity. What I realized early on when I was going through the Honor Foundation, which is an amazing organization, which I am blessed to have found, and I always promote and I always share with guys, is I didn't want to do a typical 180 alpha post-military job. I didn't want to be an analyst. I didn't want to do contracting. I want to do advocacy. I want to talk about mindfulness. I want to teach others to find peace, to find value in their own story, to find a sense of belonging in their community by doing something that they truly love. Why am I going to tell somebody that just, follow the lines, stay within the lines, color within the borders? Fuck that. You only live once. You gave the military the best years of your life. On the backside, be brave enough. Have the audacity to dream again. Our creed says at the very end, live to succeed again. And I always say it, as a Green Beret, the greatest thing you can give your community and your friends is that spirit of understanding that, dude, that next chapter should be all about you and your family. If it doesn't service, if it's not of service to you, if it doesn't bring you happiness, walk the fuck away from it. Go towards something that serves you, something that you're passionate about. And I hear pushback all the time. Well, Danny, I can't do it. I don't know. I wasn't built for that. I'll challenge it all day. You want to be a doctor? There's a pathway to it. You want to be a lawyer? There's a pathway to it. Google it. Find out all the restrictions. You were a man of action before, or a woman of action. When you go into your transition, be willing to do it again. Be willing to defy the gods. Be willing to say, I will do that. I will dream big. There are so many nonprofits that are willing to help you achieve that dream, that success, owning your own business, being an entrepreneur, being the next YouTube star, whatever. I don't give a fuck what people say. Oh, you got to be rational. I get it. You have kids, you have a wife. You have to be willing to transition to something that will bring money and put food on the table. There's voc rehab. Go back to school. Start up a business. Maybe you work in that one job for a little bit while you're working on the backside to build that business that you really want to do. It takes work. It's not going to be easy, but I will beg to say that you didn't get into the military to fucking do the easy thing. Unless you went S1, that's completely different. Still love you, still support you. But you never came into this to find the easy path. And I always talk to our soft operators, our soft professionals, because I'm passionate about the community that I came from. I served with giants, men of action. But then when they get on the outside or they're about to transition, it's that fear. And I'm no stranger to it. I felt it the same way. I had mental breakdowns. I sat down. I'm like, I can't fucking do this. I might as well just go to the easy route. Fuck that. Fuck the easy route. You've always been primed to go into the unknown. Every new guy goes through cephalic. Every new guy goes through a train up, gets to that number one spot. What's the number one man got to do? Go into the fucking unknown.
Yeah.
Be brave enough to do that. And it's not easy. It's hard. Some days it fucking sucks. You're wanting that team. One thing that I always tell guys is like, look, this whole thing that we created started with a whole bunch of us. Now it's just me. Does that deter me from my dreams? No, absolutely not. You have to be willing to say, hey, you know what? If it's not their dream, it's not their dream. Whose dream is it? It's yours. Own it. The right team will coalesce. The right people will come in. But until that happens, pick up that fucking paddle and fucking paddle your way out to deeper waters. Build that ship on its own. The beauty of it is you've already done this before. And people say, what the fuck do you mean? I've never been an entrepreneur. I'm like, no, but you started from E1. Nobody was there guiding you all the fucking time. You had to figure it out. You've had some great mentors, and you'll find them as an entrepreneur. You'll find them as a business owner. You'll find them in your next endeavor. Be willing to do the hard thing. And that's what I always advocate for transition. I meet a lot of guys that are coming out like, hey, man, I want to do this. I want to do that. Sit down, write out your plan. And I constantly get people that are come in with extreme amounts of fear and hesitation. I tell them the same thing. Fear is good. Fear is, I'm looking at one of the greatest books, The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. If you haven't read that, read that book right now and understand it is part of you. It is with you. I've never met anybody that wasn't in combat. I wasn't scared. Or wasn't doing something daring. I wasn't scared. It's not about the absence of fear. It's about being able to control it and understand you got to work through it. And you learn that and you copy and paste that every single friggin' day. Like, but yeah, I'm talking too much now.
No, that was. Listen, man, it's one thing to sit around and tell people like, you know, you got to go be vulnerable, or you got to take a chance, or you got to throw, like, your dreams have got to matter. Like, it's one thing to say it, but like when we can sit back and listen to a dude who's done it, right? That's a powerful moment, right? There's a word for that. It's called testimony, right? When you share what you've been through and what you've navigated, and where you're standing now, like, I think that's a hard thing for a lot of us veterans, right? Is we look at our yesterdays and we can't imagine our tomorrows. You know what I'm saying? And so we get stuck in the middle, right? But so frequently we lose sight of the fact that what happens in the middle matters.
That's all you got. That's all you got.
In the middle matters, dude. Like, you don't go to a gym on day one and walk out of a gym on day, whatever, and you're, like nothing happened. No, you put reps in. You put work in. You are willing to do that to be at a pinnacle of physical fitness. Well, like, bro, your spiritual and mental fitness matter just as much, and what happens in the middle matters. You got to make the reps.
No.
So, no, dude, I appreciate it. I appreciate I appreciate the vulnerability. So one bro to another, like I appreciate the vulnerability, dude.
That's something that men have been doing for ages, but nowadays we don't talk about it. We label it as what I believe. Here's my 2 cents and my hypothesis is we were sold a false sense of what masculinity was. Yep. We're all part of the GWAT, right? We remember the drowning pools, let the body hit the floor, fucking dudes with dip, monsters kicking indoors. Well, that's a fucking man. That's not a man. That's just fucking kids. We were fucking kids.
Just a dude doing something to survive.
All those fucking dudes that we saw on TV in those commercials were fucking kids. I remember thinking my platoon sergeant was so fucking impactful and so wise. He was 30 fucking years old.
Yeah.
30 fucking years old. I still love the guy. Mac is amazing. Shout out to him. Love that dude more than anything. But the reality is that that's not an accurate depiction of masculinity. No, masculinity is this: strength, resolve, determined, a protector, a family man, a father, a husband. That's masculinity. Willing to take a knee and speak with somebody passionately, with compassion and empathy, understanding their journey. That's masculinity. And nowadays they want to twist in. They want to, toxic masculinity. Get the fuck out of here. You need us. You fucking need men like us.
Right.
Not when we're broken, not when we don't have emotional intelligence, but when we can be kind and understanding and compassionate and still be able to, in times, activate that switch and be violent.
Yeah.
Be able to be defenders.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. We're now only now we're starting to advocate for that. And we have to be able to understand that we are a warrior means that you embrace all aspects of your life. You have to be able to be emotionally vulnerable when you need to. You have to be able to be okay if you need to cry. Because guess what happens when you don't cry? When you go through an entire military career, you lose friends, you lose family, you go through divorce, and you never shed a tear. Well, fucking hard. You never go through it. You never fucking process it. Yeah. Then years later, you continue to tank marriages. You continue to tank friendships. And meanwhile, you're sitting there drinking. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm not trying to call you out for listening. You're sitting there drinking, listening to the same shitty cock rock from the early 2000s, and you're lazy boy, and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm fucking hard. No, you're broken, and you deserve to heal. You deserve to finally come home. You deserve to sit down in front of somebody that can help you process all that shit. Because real men do that. Real men are violent and kind and have empathy and sympathy. And most of all, man, they have self-compassion.
Yeah.
And that's something nobody's talking about. No, and I should rephrase. People are talking about it. It's just we don't listen to them. We don't subscribe and go. We don't listen to Brene Brown. We don't listen to people that are talking about this stuff. I found an incredible amount of healing by finding these doctors. Dr. Kristen Neff, I would have never found her if I wasn't learning and being taught mindfulness and realizing the importance of being a complete 100% man, understanding everything about you, the deep work that it takes. Like there's so much to us as men that people don't talk about. They just want to label toxic masculinity. That's just lazy. That's just fucking lazy. Yeah. Our nation is literally falling apart because it doesn't have enough men in the homes and within our institutions. And it's us. It's the veterans. We just have to be in the right mindset. We just have to be willing to get healed. Because guess what? We can overcome PTSD, anxiety, depression, all the things they want to give you at the VA, like a nice comfort jacket. Like, oh, fuck yeah. PTSD, anxiety, maladaptive. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Broken veteran. Fuck that. Heal.
Yeah, I think far too often we think that the crap that we shoved in our ruck, right? That all that crap that we carried around, we just kept shoving it in a ruck. Dude, I don't know about you, man, but I can pack the snot out of a ruck, dude. Like I can put so much stuff in there. So we get good at like shoving all that stuff in there. And then like we think it's some badge of honor to be able to carry it and still be functional. But I'm still going, but I'm still knocking it out. Yeah. And what we don't realize is that even though we don't want it to, and we never intended it to, everything in that ruck is still affecting every relationship, every encounter, every conversation. It has no choice but to infect everything we're doing.
Yeah.
There's no choice. It has to go somewhere.
Absolutely, man.
So we think we're being tough and carrying stuff, and we're not. We're ruining relationships, and we're destroying our own self-image, and we're believing lies that are told about us. And then we get then again, I'm a lot like you, Denny. I'm not going to knock anybody, but like we get a VA that says, hey man, here's a bunch of pills because that's what your diagnosis says. So I'm going to label you. And now you're going to walk around and you're going to wear that label, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
And I'm not wearing labels, bro. Like I'm not going to be a dude that wears a label. I've got one label that I'll wear. Right. But that's mine. Right. I'm going to wear the label of being a Christian. That's mine. Right. But I don't know. No person on this earth gets to put a label on me. And I think when we get to the point where we're fed up, right, we have to make a choice. And it's too many of our brothers and sisters have found themselves at that crossroad of making a decision as to what being fed up looks like.
Yeah.
Right. And we're losing 30, 40 guys and gals a day to going down a path that says my fed up looks like I have to take my own life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. The divorce rate in the veteran space is astronomical because that crossroad says I got to leave my wife or I've got to leave my husband. I'm no good. And we start believing lies that are told about us. And that is the opposite of what we were trained to do.
Yeah. We are an epidemic of broken families and fatherless homes, man. Like that's the thing that really breaks my heart is realizing as a young Green Beret, you hear these stories and these jokes that like you're not full Green Beret until you have a divorce and you got a Harley, and it's all funny, it's all jokes, and you internalize that. And what did I do? And what did so many of my friends have? We got a divorce, we got our Harleys, and we had this mentality that families weren't important. But when I reflect back on my journey and I look at all the guys that succeeded and that didn't have the issues that I did, that didn't fall apart, that continued to serve, they were married, they were men of faith, and they knew their pillars. All of them.
Yeah.
When we were too busy going to Red Door, going to AJ's and partying, they would go home. They would raise their kids. They would be there. No one and people, they don't understand the importance of faith. And I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but I'm sorry. It was the final piece that I'm grateful to be back in my Catholic faith. It was the final thing that I needed. And a lot of people ask, like, what brought you back into faith? Well, two things, my wife and mindfulness. The same thing that the rosary does for me, the same thing that mindfulness and meditation did for me. And the two are the same.
Yep. Present
moment awareness, focused on saying your prayers, literally understanding the importance of a higher power and putting your faith back into what matters.
Yeah.
Your family and your faith.
Yep.
And I know it for a fact. I've seen it. We could literally study it. We could look at and it's so important for us to acknowledge that. It is, man, when your body fails, a lot of those guys, they got injured too. They didn't fall apart. They had their faith, they had their family.
Yep.
Like, and go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Keep going. I certainly don't want to cut you off, bro.
And that's one of the things that more people need to be strong. And we have great organizations. Just want to shout out Dr. Ellie Stevens, Advancing Warriors International. Just waving that banner. Her husband's a Green Beret. She's a service member, and they don't shy about it. They have support groups that's faith-based. They have a faith-based program for individuals to come and find that community, find that tribe. That's one of the most important things we can do on the outside. Like people talk about job placement as being very important. Well, I will tell you this. Connecting is just as vital. Connecting and finding that new tribe. I can help you get a job. I can put you in contact. I can steer you in the right direction of amazing individuals that will help advocate for you. But I can't do nothing for you if you're not willing to walk outside that door, walk into your own neighborhood, and connect with people. You got to build a team room on the outside too. You got to. And it's not comfortable. A lot of us are introverts. A lot of us have social anxiety. Anxiety is an okay thing. It's part of life. You shouldn't shy away from fear and anxiety. You're going to always have anxiety. That's just, I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. It's a normal aspect of life, stress and anxiety. Now there's toxic stress, and then there's having an unnatural reaction to anxiety. You can get help for that, but I would strongly advise you, from someone that's dealt with the issues, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and learn how to adapt to them. Discomfort's a good thing. Walking to your neighbor and introducing yourself and finding out If you have common things and be able to hang out, that's a great thing. Being a contributing member of a community is important. As veterans, we like to isolate. We live in our Facebook groups, our LinkedIn groups. We listen to, I'm only going to talk to these people because they're veterans. Talk to everybody. They need you just as much as you need them. You're a leader. You've proven yourself in an organization that you can lead others. Who better to be part of the community organization? Who better to run for office? And we're seeing it now. If you look at our government right now, and not to get in a political segue, just real quick, if you look at our government right now, we have a lack of representation from veterans. And it's directly correlated to how poor our country is being run. Regardless of policy, regardless of party affiliations, we are missing a key component to how our nation really succeeds, and that's the veterans. We need to get involved. Spark that fire. Be willing to run. Be willing to advocate for change. We can't just sit here and complain in our echo chambers. We have to break through that.
Yeah. Well, Denny, we are over on time, and I have loved this conversation. I don't want it to stop, but it has been amazing. It has been amazing. I haven't said a word. You and Eric have been carrying this whole podcast. And I've been loving it. I'm just so you've thoroughly entertained me. But for all listeners out there that had been equally as touched by the passion and everything going on that was going on in this episode, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Slide into our DMs on Instagram, hit me up on the website, or send me an email, sechaltpodcast@gmail.com. I answer every message, every DM. If you even go to the website, I have a bot that will ping as soon as you hit there a couple times, because I realize people will come back. If you're hitting a certain article, if you're rereading it, the bot will notify them, hey, man, you're looking for some help with some PTSD? Let's talk. Let's chat. Right now, I still do my peer-to-peer support group. I'm doing a closed one for the last few months for individuals that are dealing with specific trauma. So once this cohort, everybody bounces out and gets help, we'll open it back up. And if I need to, I'll close it up and make it private for the next batch. But always be willing to look for the next dates. It's just peer-to-peer support is something that I encourage everybody to do. Get your certification, help others. I know we're running out of time, but it's an honor to be here talking with you guys. I can't thank you enough.
Denny, I think this is, and I'm going to keep doing this. I've done this last couple of episodes, and I'm going to keep doing it to Keith and Sean because I'm not going to have to do the work. But I think this is absolutely, I think you're a dude that needs to come back on. So here's my third straight vote for a guest to get a second appearance, bro. What you're throwing out is something that is so vital. And you're right. We are talking about it, right? It is being talked about, but we're not listening enough. And so I'm of the opinion that if what we're saying is important and people aren't listening, that we need to get louder and we need to be in more places and we need to have more platforms. Because sometimes, like, if you're a knuckle dragger, sometimes we learn a little slow, right?
Yep.
And that's okay. It's okay that you learn a little slow. What I love about you, dude, is you sound a lot like me. Like, you're willing to meet somebody where they are. Like, I'll just meet you where you are. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
And we'll take it from there, right?
You can't help somebody heal or go through their trauma unless they're ready for it, man. You gotta wait. That's
true, dude. And I'm, another thing, I'm so tired of hearing this, like, hurt people, dude. Healed people heal people too. Like, we need to get involved. Like, if you're a dude or a young lady that's been through some stuff and you're on the other side of it, then get involved. Be a part of helping somebody else, right? Okay. Keith's right. See, I miss him so bad. Keith's right. We're out of time. So, hey, dude, listen, I'm
bringing on the Secured Out podcast. We have unlimited time there. Come on. Bring it over there. We'll do it.
Let us know, dude. So, hey, listen, man, on behalf of the VET S.O.S family, brother, we're really grateful that you showed up. We're really grateful for your time. And for everyone watching, we're thankful that you took the time to join us today. Please make sure that you subscribe and follow us on YouTube and on all your favorite podcast platforms. And then, again, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab that VET S.O.S lifeline. We'll see y'all later.